Hey, welcome to the Black Pill, unused classroom edition, I guess. Let's talk about Memorial Day. Memorial Day, right around the corner here. A local advert for a local lawyer has a veteran saying, the reason you should use this lawyer and not that lawyer is when I showed up for my appointment, my lawyer thanked me for my service. That's about the whole of their pitch. Is that? I see a lot of lip service around this, but not a ton of like actual respect for veterans. I did a longer video a while ago about what respect means, like respect in several different levels. And like a major problem with society is your parents never taught you respect. They probably taught you deference and obedience to authority and called it respect. And that's like it's a major issue we have. Remember that the people, though, who claimed to be pro-police and pro-military literally beat police officers with flagpoles with American flags attached to them, or Trump flags, or thin blue line flags like that. And people who claim to be pro-military, the party of pro-military, they're in Congress voting against benefits for soldiers and veterans and the firefighters who got sick cleaning up the 9/11 attack site, right? They're voting against that every day. I was at a Golden Corral with my kid a few years back, and there was a table where there was some young people in uniform, just trying to have lunch between work assignments. And this is a pretty Republican town. This is where Focus on the Family have their headquarters, and so this was toward the end of the Obama administration when he was catching crap for like not saluting the Marines on waiting for him at Air Force Two, um, Marine One, and wearing a tan suit and stuff like that. Um, so, the rise of the Tea Party, and this is when more than ever Republicans had claimed military worship and patriotism. Um, so these young people just trying to have their lunch, there were gawkers. Everyone else at the Golden Corral was like staring at them, and going up and trying to shake hands and thank them for their service and whatever. And it was a total gross out fest. Like when I was in uniform, God, it's been a long time, but when I was in uniform, I was embarrassed when people would. It didn't happen very much. I didn't wear uniform like out there in public in civilian land very much. When it happened, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed by that. And so here's these people just trying to have their lunch and whatever. I ended up paying for their food. I cornered a server and I'm like, let me pick up the tab on whatever's going on over here. And was it Golden Corral? It doesn't matter where it was. I picked up the tab and didn't tell them about it. They're like, "Do you want me to say who?" I'm like, "No, don't say who did that. Let one of the weird right wing Trump hat people have it. You know, this is before Trump hats. Whatever. Don't care. Just try and so all of the people thanking them for their service seemed to be benefiting from that, getting a lot of emotional like stuff out of that the people at the table weren't getting. They were harassed. So at least let them get a free lunch out of it. So that happened. Um, I don't like it. I don't like being thanked for my service. I didn't do anything particularly important or special. Like the mission was really important. Those GPS satellites you use every day, you're welcome, I guess. But I was just a really small cog in a really big machine, and those birds would be orbiting, with or without me. those birds would be orbiting. And so I don't feel like anything I did was in particular very, very important. I volunteered for danger. I never really saw any danger. 3 of my 4 years I spent in a large air-conditioned building with no windows, doing things that I can't really tell you about. Which isn't to say I didn't give anything. I did give something. And, maybe there's a longer video in the future, but suffice for now to say that the things that I did for the Air Force don't comport with my values now. And that's what I gave. I gave my innocence in a way. I gave the cleanliness of my hands. I gave, there's stuff that I know that I wish I didn't. I'd be a much happier person if I didn't know some of the stuff I know. There's some stuff I saw that I wish I hadn't seen, and I'd be a different guy if I hadn't seen. And I don't want to go into any more detail. Not now, perhaps not ever, perhaps for a longer video later. And sometimes people thank me when they find out that I served, but they don't really know what they're thanking me for. I'm embarrassed by it for them and for me. I'd rather, if it's up to me, I'd say, man, vote your conscience and do some actual work to make sure your conscience is actually worthy of you. And leave me out of it. Leave me out. This is all prompted by Memorial Day right around the corner. The performative patriots are out, as usual, telling you to feel guilty about your backyard barbecue, while again, supporting a party that forgets about veterans every time their corporate donors ask for tax cuts. The folks with the "I support our troops" bumper stickers are the ones driving past homeless veterans on the street corner. 17% of the veterans here in our town, the homeless folks here in our town are veterans. A buddy, used to be kind of, now estranged by the Trump era, said he liked being thanked. That told me all I really needed to know. He wanted people to thank him for his service and looked down on people who didn't do that. He claimed moral authority from having seen combat. And of course he voted Trump. He was very excited that Trump was elected president. So look, man, 2 kinds of people, okay? One kind of person went through some shit, and they think you're not legitimate unless you went through the same shit they went through in the same way that they went through it. See them all the time at the college, professors whose professors, when they were in graduate school, were authoritarian. And so now they are authoritarian, and they don't think about how their harsh authoritarian practices really affect people, or how they interact with the subject that they're teaching, or what good it's going to do anyone in the future. They just, if they think about it at all, it's to rationalize authoritarianism, and often explicitly do that. My job is to prepare you for the real world. As though college isn't the real world. Bro, where is that in your learning objectives, right? Where in the course objectives does it say prepare college students for authoritarian bosses? Where does it say that? Doesn't. Some folks go to West Point in Hell Week. The third years have complete authority over the first years. The abuse is legendary, and it isn't over. It's not condoned by the brass, but I talk to people, and people tell me it still happens. Yeah, all the way up to the worst abuses that you can think of. Nobody in that situation seems to remember what it was like to be that first year in Hell Week and go, I'm not going to treat anybody that way. I remember how I was treated. It was bad. I'm not going to pass that along. They instead seem to go, now it's my turn. Right? Now the shoe is on the other foot. They revel in that power as though that power, the ability to abuse, the right of cruelty, right, is something that they have earned and they're going to take. The second kind of person goes, I went through some shit, but that shit was totally illegitimate. It didn't make me a better person. It didn't add anything to what I was supposed to be learning. It's not relevant. Conformity is not part of your education. Abuse isn't discipline. And my job is to stand between you and the abuse, to protect you from that as much as I can. I didn't serve to be thanked, or for any honorable reason at all, really. I moved to the US with my dad in 1991. By 1993, he was dead. He died of cancer, sort of a soft suicide. And I had nowhere to go and nothing to do, and no prospect. So I signed up for the Air Force. He'd been Air Force 23 and a half years or something. And I signed up and sort of made it the family business, I guess. But I did that to avoid poverty. In training, I found this ethos of honor, which kind of I needed, and I ended up leaving after my 4-year contract because I did not see that honor among the people with whom I was working. I was just reading a paper like 3 weeks ago about how Christians make atheists, and Christian parents who don't live their Christianity, Christian parents who vote Trump, basically, who are about cruelty and authority and get a job, you effing slob, and if you don't work, you can't eat. Those kinds of Christians, they make atheist kids because they go to church and they hear about these tremendous values of love and acceptance and forgiveness and non-judgment. Then they look at their parents and see hypocrites, and they go, "That's not for me." And they end up atheists. And I ended up leaving the service because there was this tremendous code, of honor and courage and sacrifice that I didn't see being enacted around me at all. And all the people I served with, they're right-wing assholes now. I really broke from all of my former comrades when Sarah Palin was the vice presidential candidate, because those guys really liked the stuff she was saying. When you listen to her speech really is almost devoid of content. It's all about scorn and derision. And there's another word for that, it's hate. And when people listen to that and they're moved by it and they're like, she makes a lot of sense. No, she doesn't make any sense. She's not saying anything. You're attaching to that scornful content. And so I don't talk to those men anymore. I guess some guys serve for some higher purpose. It must be true. There's the 9/11 attack, and people go off to war to stand for something, even if the thing they think they're standing for has been crafted by politicians, and they rush in there to defend the home. I guess there's some kind of honor in that, but most people don't, and most of the people who say they joined for some honorable reason were fed that honorable reason down the line. I talked to the guys in basic. I talked to the guys coming out of basic. I talked to the guys I served with. And almost everyone signed up to escape poverty, all right? The enlistees signed up to escape poverty. And the officers signed up to get their student loans paid. And absolutely no shade on the people doing that. None whatsoever. That's how the military goddamn recruits in the first place. And some people discover the ethos along the line. It is, after all, drummed into you very seriously. That's not why people serve. The answer was never, ever duty, honor, country. Not until people were trained to say it. So I just didn't serve so I could have the moral authority to tell people how to vote, who to love, who to hate. Least of all, to rationalize fucking fascism. Another friend has learned to ask before thanking people. Hey, do you mind if I thank you for your service? I like that. That's cool. I'd invite you to think about that. Invite you to just think about it. Let it roll around in your head. That you might actually be doing something, that thanking people might be more for your gratification than for their needs. And so maybe just consider it. It might not be, but just consider it, you know? And if you want to go to a cemetery on Memorial Day, hey, man, that's cool too. Great. I hope you have an important experience. There are people, though, telling you to feel guilty if you don't do that. Memorial Day isn't for mattress sales and backyard barbecues. And, you know, some reflection on how we got here and where we're going, that is in the spirit of the holiday. Sure. Just think about who is telling you that. I didn't serve so you would have to think about it. Or so you would have to see what I saw or know what I knew. I didn't see combat in the military, but I sure as shit spent the 20 years after that in violent situations. And I did that so you wouldn't have to, so you wouldn't know. I strive to be the second kind of person. In America, we raise our children to have a better life than we had, and then we resent them for it. Such crap. We worked really hard so they won't have to work as hard as we did, and we call them lazy and entitled. No, man, that's just crap. I served to escape poverty. Along the way, I discovered some kind of ethos of sacrifice, honor, duty. I did my time so that others wouldn't have to do that time. And I'm not going to resent you for it. That means my sacrifice was worthwhile. I don't know what passive-aggressive bullshit Sarah Palin martyr complex makes a person demand thanks for their service and get mad at people splashing in the lake and drinking beers. That innocence is what service is for. Memorial Day is about goddamn backyard barbecues. Because people served so that we could be free to drink a couple of beers and toast some wieners, man. So you wouldn't have to think about it. Go, have goddamn fun. All right, look, I'm not saying anyone laying a guilt trip on you is a fascist. I'm saying just check. For all the people who served, all the people who are serving. To the extent I can understand your sacrifices, I thank you for those. Black Pill out.